everybody, it is April and I am in my craft room. So I've been working on this project. That is my design wall, yep, stain and all, and this is what I am working on. So I've sewn together the top 4 rows of blocks, but I still have the bottom 2 rows to go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sew together the blocks for the last 2 rows. I have these 2 blocks. They were on my design wall, and now I'm going to put them together and sew a 1/4 inch seam. And I just line up my fabric as I go. My cutting, never perfect. I don't know why. So I straighten it up as much as possible. So this is kind of like a leader cloth right here. I don't need a leader cloth. I can just use the previous set of blocks from my project, and I will just continue on to my next block. And I'm going to press them to the dark side. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the seam, and then I want the seam to be on this side, so I'm going to press. So here, once again, I've sewn my block. I'm going to press the seam. Now this seam should go to the dark side, so I'm going to do that. But I want to leave my other seam in place. And pressing is really just pressing your iron down. Technically, you should not be rubbing it or running it across the fabric, because that can stretch your fabric. And it'll be wonky, harder to put together. Trust me when I say it is easy to get out of order. So here I put them up on my design wall. Just gonna grab, that's easy for me to say, grab these 2 and go to the sewing machine. As you can see, I have all of my rows sewn. So now I need to take this row and I need to sew it to the next row. So here is a seam. So you want to nest your seams. Here is a seam, so you want to nest your seams. So that's the tricky part about putting the rows together, is you want the seams to meet. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna line it up, and again, you can put clips if you want. I am going to put clips where my seams are supposed to meet, and sometimes you can help your fabric if there's a little stretch. You can help your fabric get those seams where they're supposed to be. So I'm going to put my foot down, 1/4 inch seam. Now I'm going to start slowly, because I don't want my fabric to get bunched up, and I don't have a leader. So I'm just going to start slowly, and once your fabric gets past the hole in your needle plate, you should be good to go. And I'm not pulling my fabric, I'm just holding my fabric. Okay, then I'm coming to my next block, so I want to make sure that everything is lined up. Okay, so now comes the moment of truth. So what you can do is you can see that these 4 pieces are pretty spot on. So these are where the blocks come together. So those met, and those met. I got lucky. And now I'm going to just join the rest of the rows together. So I've got the quilt, the center of the quilt done. Now I need some borders. And this is where I'm going to go away from the pattern a little bit. I have cut out actually some borders for the quilt, and this is the fabric that the borders are in. But I want a wider border so that my quilt is a little bit bigger. So what I want to do is I want to measure my quilt and then see if I can do 6-inch strips of this around the outside. Let's see how that goes. So it's 48 by 39. So if I say 39 plus 48 plus 48, that's 174, divided by 40 equals 4.35. And I have 36 inches of that material. Oh, this material. So I can cut out 6-inch strips, 5 6-inch strips. I can actually get 6 6-inch strips out of this, and I can use that for my border. So now what for fun, you say? Well, let's piece these bad boys together. So what we're going to do is this will be on the border, which is not right. Got ahead of myself. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take these strips and I'm going to sew them together, and we are going to attach them to the outside. And I'm just sewing them straight across. 1/4 inch seam. And I'm going to chain piece. So there's my one end. Match them up and sew them together. As long as I have right sides together, I should be okay. I'm going to start sewing this border to my quilt. And when I come to an end, I'll just snip it and go on. Doesn't really matter where I start. I just need to find an end. I will finger press the seam as I go. So I'm gonna have just a little on the end, just to make sure I don't shortchange myself. This is where you need all the stuff out of your way to the left-hand side of your machine. So then you can put stuff there. I'm just going to start sewing. So here we've got our border. All right, let's make sure, I'm gonna flip it over and make sure that I hit both pieces of material for the whole thing. And I did. All right, now I will just take this. I'm going to leave a little extra. And now I'm going to go on the other side. I actually had leftover. Not much, a little bit. All right, so now we've got this border on. Finger press it. Let's put our other border on. Now we're going to put, this is where we deviate, and we're going to put the 6-inch border on. So I'm going to grab one of the 6-inch borders that I have sewn together. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to do the same thing with this border that I did with the 2.5-inch border that we just worked on. So here is the quilt top all done. I really am pleased with the way it turned out. The 6-inch border, it makes it a nice size quilt for a child or a lap quilt. So let's move a little closer. And here is fabric 1, which was my feature fabric. These stripes were the fabric 2. And then the polka dots were my darker fabric. So I'm really excited that I got that quilt done. I will definitely be doing some more of the Fabric Cafe's 3-yard quilt patterns. Adding that 6-inch border seems to make it a larger quilt, and I really like the way that turned out. I will put it in a quilt sandwich, and then I'm going to quilt it, and I think what I want to do is I want to use my embroidery machine in order to do that quilting. And I'm thinking a leaf pattern would be kind of fun, and for me that's the hardest part, is deciding the pattern. So the hard part is done, right? So I'll do a video on how I use my embroidery machine in order to do the quilting on a quilt. Thank you for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. If you want to see more videos about quilting and decorating t-shirts and card making and paper crafting and glass etching and all that kind of stuff, then please subscribe. Have a great day, eat some chocolate, and be kind to everybody. Bye. Got ahead of myself. Does anybody want the orange? I don't like the orange.